Good morning.
Yeah, it's
Good
still morning.
morning.
It's still morning.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. I know that you're joining us for the very first time. So welcome to the conference. Welcome to DNI Changemakers. Where are you connecting us from? Which city?
I'm in Warsaw.
Warsaw. Okay.
Inevitably.
Yes. Judging by the weather in Krakow, I think we're sharing same weather conditions,
moment.
same weather, but we're getting
Yeah.
more light, as you can see, from artificial light, which is working as well. Irana, anyways, great to have you. We're hoping to have a valuable conversation around data and data-based. We know that you do have a supporting material with you. We cannot talk about data without actually seeing data. But even before we dive into the content, I would really love you to maybe just tell us more about the Diversity Charter, what you're doing, and why, actually, what you're bringing to the conversation. So what is the activity, what are you doing, and why that makes the relevant conversation? Let's start with that.
There were already references to United Nations, so charter is a fitting concept. Irena, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Diversity Charter is three things, actually. It's the commitment of the companies to non-discrimination in the workplace and to promote diversity within and in external environment to promote diversity. It is also the educational program where companies can learn about DEI through webinars, meetings, publications, and so on. And most importantly, maybe it is also the signatories network with whom you can exchange some ideas, challenges, best practices. What is important, it's not only in Poland. In Poland, it is since 2012, but it exists also in 26 European countries. So you can join Diversity Charter in your own country, and you can join also simultaneously when you are a global company and you have hub in different countries. You can join Diversity Charters simultaneously in all those countries.
Okay, that's wonderful. When you say educational program and when you say network of people, that makes me feel confident that it's a guaranteed recipe for success. So that's a nice start. Thank you, Irena. Let us focus now on the research, on the data itself. If we could ask you to take the perspective of the last 10 years of activity of Diversity Charter, so this is a massive data that we're looking into and taking data under the microscope, huge microscope. What findings are you seeing and what conclusions these findings lead us to? Can you talk a bit more on that?
Yeah, but firstly, I would like to differentiate two research that I will talk about, okay? Because one is like big representative research run in 800 companies, big and mid-size. And its aim was to, look at some trends, look at some changes in Poland within this 10 years. And the other one is the more of the development tool for our signatories, Diversity Check Survey. It is narrower, it has a smaller scope, but it's still insightful, and it is the companies that participate in it are already interested in the topic. So the one is the global overview, and the other one is like more detailed, more specific, and is connected with the companies that are maybe leaders of DEI in Poland. You can say that. And each year we also publish the list of the best employers of in diversity management based on its findings. So with this differentiation, I would like to address some like maybe most surprising, most interesting conclusion, but it will be based on this big research. Okay.
Okay, that's fantastic, and thank you for making this differentiation.
Let's jump right in.
Yes. So since we have two options, let's follow your choice and let's dive into the bigger one, as you say, that gives us a kind of a probably broader insight.
And later in the day, Irena, please feel free to share in the comments section all the relevant addresses, website addresses that our audience can read about your reports and the methodology behind it.
Yes, because
Yeah, thank you so much.
the second,
Yeah, I will do
the
that.
second you say, massive data, I'm thinking of like how little time we have. So that's a
Yeah,
fantastic
we need to share at
recommendation,
least
Łukasz.
some.
Yes, let's throw all the links possible to the audience so the audience can benefit. Absolutely. So where shall we start?
Yeah, the
Start
first
or starve?
surprising
It's a cooking thing.
Both.
Yeah, the first surprising conclusion was that not even half of the Polish employers knows the diversity management term. And it was even slightly less than a decade before, because similar research was conducted a decade before ours. So what's more, the difference between in understanding and in the knowledge about DEI between big companies and mid-sized companies has widened. And why we think that happened? We think it is mostly because of some specific political climate in Poland during the last 8 years. And as you may know, we have no room for DEI topics in the public debate. It may be one reason, but to maybe be less pessimistic or more optimistic, let's say, it doesn't mean, if the company doesn't know the diversity management term, it doesn't mean that they don't do some actions. Actually, they do. They often do, but without labeling them as DEI initiatives. So it's not that nothing happens, but it's more about public debate and discussing and knowledge about diversity management terms and knowledge about it.
Okay, but
So this is.
Sorry, would it suggest that actually managers run DNI agenda almost like intuitively, with no need of defining or naming things? It's happening, right? That's what you're saying, even without.
It is exactly my second conclusion, because it's about the DEI strategy, and it turned out that 3% of the companies have the strategy itself. And it's like that. That often the DEI policies are based on ethics and that are connected with some singular actions. Not with the thoughtful process, the DEI strategy itself. But it differs in our Diversity in Czech survey. This survey for the, let's say, DEI leaders in Poland. So most of the companies in the Diversity in Czech have the strategy. So, and it is the area where they have the highest score. Right. So it's the main difference between this, smaller scope and the general one.
Okay. So how about the third conclusion, Irena, before we get to the next question? Yeah. Anything that you'd like to
share? Third one is really important for us, because we really like to address this issue. It's about the programs. It's connected with generations, that we mentioned before during the conference. And it's about the programs for the caretakers, for the dependent adult people. Only 2% of the companies have these programs, comparing to 12% that have the programs addressed or dedicated to parents. So it is definitely an issue to discuss, especially considering the aging society, not only in Poland. So it was also surprising and maybe some sad finding in this research, but we can do more about it. Yes. For sure. And the fourth one was about the people with disabilities. So as you may know, we have this organization that you pay fine when you employ less than 6% of people with disabilities. And it turned out that 82% of the Polish companies paying this fine. It is a big number, I know, but on the flip side, you can say that almost 20% of these companies employ 6 or more % of them, of people with disabilities. And it is the better score than within these leaders, like Diversity in Czech survey. Because the average score for this global, usually they are global companies that participate in our Diversity in Czech survey, yeah, the Polish hub, the Polish division of them. And the average score there is 1.5%. So it's still a challenge to hire and maybe retain people with disabilities, but it's better in general in Poland than in this smaller scope survey.
Yeah, and once you have this data, it it just brings you more awareness, therefore just opportunities to act and actually create a real change. So hopefully, when we meet next year, we will be able to present, I don't want to say better data, just data, growing data on that aspect. So data is good. That's all I wanted to say.
Data is good. And do share whatever findings you think are especially interesting, especially relevant with our audience here in the chat window, but also separately. I'm sure Diversity Hub will be interested to share it as a separate post. So do share it with us.
Yes, and I know, Irena, that you're very active in social media, and you're a very approachable person. So if there are questions from the audience, like the one that we just got, I'm positive that you're happy to take not just the one that we're seeing, but many more, and share some more recommendations on data evidence and database DNI.
Yeah, I will gladly do that. And I invite you to Diversity Charter and to Diversity in Czech survey. It starts on 10th January, so you can join and measure data, whether in our survey or in another one, like measure it, it's doable, and it's a good first step for your DEI strategy.
Yes. So maybe as a final comment and a kind of like a summary of this whole segment, what would be your piece of advice, recommendation to companies that are still fearful of looking into the data? We recognize the importance, we recognize the value, but there may be still some fear related to actually looking into your internal market. What would you say as a word of encouragement?
Well, do not fear, and I would
That's
say
simple.
that but. I will say that many companies join our survey, and it is not public, It is not that we publish like the score of every company that took part in it. So it is more of a development tool for you, and you can find out and you can benchmark yourself with others, and you can find out where you have actually some initiative, and you don't label them as the actions, because it's common. It's more common that we have the companies that make our survey and do not mention some initiatives. And then when we verify the answers, we encourage them to, include this initiative in their DEI strategy. Then the opposite way, that we, say, no, this is not DEI, let's skip it. So, have courage. And I'm sure you are doing many things. Maybe sometimes you don't even consider them as DEI policies, strategies, initiatives.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Irena. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your insights. And I believe this conversation will be continued after the conference.
It will, no doubt. Thank you again. Thank you so
you.
much. And after the outro, we'll have a short film for you. Thank you so much for now.